What I wanted to do tonight was to start the first of 3 parts on the business plan. And this introductory section on the business plan is really looking at something called the feasibility analysis, which is like a pre-business plan. And then we're looking at the front end of any business plan, the basic introduction to your business idea section of a business plan. First and foremost, a business plan is a tool. It is a tool that you use, and a lot of people need some convincing on the value of the tool because doing a business plan is not necessarily an easy thing to do. It requires you to give a lot of thought, put a lot of time into developing it. A lot of business people or a lot of people entering business say, well, that's an obstacle I don't want to have to bother with. But if you do bother with it, it has significant value because what it will do is help prove your business long before you invest any money in it. So it's kind of like an insurance policy, if you would look at it that way. Instead of investing thousands and thousands of dollars in a business idea only to realize it's not working and then losing thousands and thousands of dollars, it's best to do a paper dry run of it. I'll call it a paper dry run. And that's what the business plan is all about. It is a paper dry run. So it's a valuable tool in that purpose. It saves you money. It's time and trouble up front, but it will save you money and save you effort in the long run. If we look at a business plan from a business starting point of view, which is probably the most common use of a business plan, it is very much a sales document. You have to convince potential investors that this is a worthwhile investment. And as a result, they should take their money and invest it. Now, how do you do that? How do you convince them? Well, you can sit in front of them and explain it to them. No question. Some might, say, great, here's $100,000, go off and do your best. Very few people will, though. With a business plan, what you've done is you can use it as a tool to demonstrate the worth of your idea and give it to someone to read and to consider so that they can evaluate the worth of your idea. So a business plan is a useful tool in terms of selling or pitching your idea to a potential investor, be it a bank, be it someone who wants to invest in terms of partial ownership, or someone who wants to loan you money. So it's very important as a tool for doing that. It also internally plays a critical role for planning. It allows you to think about your business and how it should flow and just kind of walk it through as much as anything so that you'll have a good idea of where you're going, what steps you need to do next, and what some potential pitfalls are and how to maneuver around them before, so that nothing hits you out of the ordinary. A typical business plan runs about 25, 35 pages. So it can be a fairly lengthy document, but it gives the reader a clear description of what you're doing. And different business plans have different formats, but what we're looking at in here, what I want to show you is a generic type format. Okay. This is not the be all and the end all. There is no absolutely it has to be done this way, but a generic type format for most businesses, particularly trades type businesses where it is very tangible what you're doing. That this type of business plan that we're going to be looking at is very useful for that. Well, a business plan is the first 4 slides. If you're starting a business, it can turn ideas into something tangible for someone to invest in. Okay. Paint a picture for someone for investing purposes. This is what the business is going to look like. This is why you should give me money towards my business. So it helps do that and helps secure the financing. So people with the money can obviously say, yeah, it's a good idea. I'll lend you some money. And it also identifies the strengths that you bring to the business, some of the challenges or weaknesses that you're going to have to compensate for by hiring the right people, and some of the opportunities that are out there for your business and some of the threats. There you go, the SWOT analysis. And again, as I say, not all of us want to start a business, but certainly in terms of managing a business plan is useful there because it helps communicate your vision to your employees. If you share a business plan with the idea of telling the employees where we're going to go with this business and how we're going to get there and what their role is in it, It's often helpful as a human resource builder. People can see where they fit in this puzzle called the business. It can develop accurate financial forecasts. It's useful for planning ahead in terms of dollars and cents. This is how much we're going to need. This is how much revenue we're going to generate. These are some of our expenses. And just to kind of prove out that the business is a worthwhile venture. And probably as you're going along, the most valuable asset of it from a management point of view, and a lot of businesses to quantify that, everyone does it, but if you look at a business plan lays out a prediction of where the business is going. So basically, it's like a roadmap. If we can compare where we are versus where we said we were going to be, the business plan says this is where we're going to be. And as we move along in time, are we meeting those expectations? Are we exceeding them? Are we falling short of them? What the business plan does is allows you to kind of follow along the map to see if we're still on the road or not. So it's a very useful tool for measuring performance. Are we doing what we said we're going to do? And obviously, if the performance is not up to the standard that you anticipated, then you'll be able to make some required changes before it's too late. The other aspect of a business plan is it helps handle growth. Again, your business started off small. It's pretty, it's doing very well. It's a pretty good setup you got there for a business. You need to expand. Well, what are you going to need? How are you going to expand? Well, how much should you grow? How much is enough? Is there a point where you invest too much in the business and as a result, the business can't sustain that investment? If you got a garage and let's say, for example, you have one bay on your garage and the business starts off doing really good and the one bay is not enough. And you think to yourself, well, should I have 2 bays, 3 bays, 4 bays? Should I expand? Well, if you put on 4 bays and you realize that demand is only really there for 2, that means you got a whole bunch of money invested that you're probably not going to recoup. So what the business plan does is it helps you kind of get those thoughts in order and get that potential in order before you actually invest any money. So it's useful in that regard. And if you're exiting the business again, if you're planning on selling a business, it allows you to kind of lay out a plan for how you're going to successfully transfer the business to someone and what kind of a price to put on that business. Now we're going to switch and say, okay, let's look at it from the idea of starting a business. Let's look at, should we go about writing a business plan for this business? And everyone kind of rolls their eyes and says, oh, it's a 40-page document. It's a lot of work. I got to do a lot of research. And I'm not even sure if the ideas fit. So one of the things that a lot of small business people are advised to do is do a pre-business plan first. All the pre-business plan is it's like a Reader's Digest version of a business plan, and it's called a feasibility analysis. And essentially what you do is a limited amount of research and a limited amount of contemplation to consider whether or not this business is worthwhile enough to write a full business plan for. Okay. So you're taking the idea and you're testing it. And, statistics say that only a very small percentage of new business ideas ever come to pass, 1 or 2%. That means you got 98 or 99 of your 100 ideas are not going to pan out. So you wouldn't want to have to write 99 business plans in order to find the one that you're going to do. So the feasibility analysis allows you to kind of make that preliminary scan. What is it that will work and what is it that won't? So it is a tool, just like the business plan is used to kind of determine potential viability. Okay. It answers one basic question. Does the business idea make economic sense? That is the fundamental questions that a feasibility analysis will answer. And what we're doing here is a little bit of analysis to look at the business opportunity, look at the obstacles to that business opportunity, and what it's going to take to make that business a success. Okay. It's conducted during the deliberation phase of project development cycle. In other words, right up at the front end. Right up at the front end. What we're doing in the feasibility analysis is really looking at 3 major focuses. Is there a market for this product? The market feasibility. Okay. Is there a site, and what are some of the technical issues related to this? Is there an ideal location for this business? Do you have some potential sites in mind? What would be required at that site? What are the technical issues of that site? Do you need, let's say, for example, you're building a sawmill And the site is going to be Burgoyne's Cove. And one of the things the sawmill is going to need is a power line, a high voltage 3-phase power line. And you find out that Burgoyne's Cove doesn't have access to that type of power. So you're either going to have to put in a generator or come up with some other plan. Well, if you can realize that probably that location is not the best location because of those technical issues, before you actually get into it, it'll save you a whole heap of money. And it will save you the trouble of having to kind of start over your business plan. The third thing that we want to get out of feasibility analysis is financial feasibility. Can this potentially make some money? So we got to look for the potential for profit. Is it sufficient to keep the business afloat? Now, and and a lot of business people ask, well, can I make a profit? But you got to ask yourself, how much of a profit do you have to make? And this is a big problem that a lot of small business people that go into business have. They are only concerned about profitability. But let's think about it. Now, let's think about it that you got a job and you're making $50,000 a year in that job. Okay. And you're thinking about leaving that job to start your own business. You start your business and you think to yourself, I can make $40,000 a year in this business. When you ask yourself, was that a wise decision? I left a $50,000 a year job for a $40,000 a year job. Even though the business is making money, it's not making as much as you could have made in a job. In the job, you didn't have any responsibility, no debt, none of the problems of running a business. So you have to ask yourself, how much profit do I need to make it worthwhile to quit my job or to do something rather than what I'm doing now? And this is really getting to this concept we talk about in economics of opportunity cost. What is the opportunity cost of running the business? And you got to make enough in your business to cover those opportunity costs. So you need to make at least more than $50,000 a year in order to run this business. Because if you can make $50,000 just working for someone else, why do you ever start a business? So you got to ask yourself, is it feasible, not only a profit, but in terms of, is it making enough profit to cover your opportunity costs of moving from what you're doing now to what you want to do next? What I've done here is I've put down I'm going to call the question list or checklist to deal with this feasibility. And I said to you, the feasibility question, the ultimate question is, can this make money? Okay, that's the fundamental question. But sub questions out of that is, how big is the potential market? Is the market growing? Who's competing in the market? Is there a suitable site for the business? Do you have the necessary resources and time? What's the pricing structure of the business? What's the projected sales? What are the revenue projections? What are the total startup costs required in order to get this business going? What's the estimated daily, monthly, annual operating costs? How much is it going to cost to run? What's the break-even point in terms of sales, in terms of volume? How many units would you have to sell? And when will your business be profitable? Because businesses are not normally profitable in the first couple or 3 years. You certainly will want to start making a profit after 3 years. So all those questions kind of relate to that major question of, can you make any money here?